Hello, Body of Messiah. Today we're going to cover UBP Lesson 4 and Part 1. Part 1 and Part 2 are going to be very brief. Today we're covering a lesson that's titled The Sea, Rivers, and Springs Turning Red, but No Stars Have Fallen. And I have a question mark here. Today we're going to cover a prophecy, biblical prophecy for Revelation chapter 8, verse 8 through 11. And this is where it's talking about stars falling or a mountain falling, and then the waters turning into blood or looking as if they're blood, and also that they become bitter, and that people are going to die from it. So, and maybe they already have. So the reason why I have a question mark here is because we have many reports of the rivers and seas turning red, blood red, but we don't have any reports of fallen stars. And so I'm going to point out in this particular lesson 4, part 1, as to why I believe that is so. So let's begin. Revelation chapter 8, verse 8. The second angel trumpeted, and something like a huge mountain ablaze with fire was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. A third of the creatures living in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel trumpeted, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. It fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. Now, the name of the star is wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood. And many people died from the waters that were made bitter. Now, Body of Messiah, I want to say what I'm interpreting that has come to pass yet. I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything in verse 9 has come to pass. I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have reports of many people dying from the waters being bitter. But I can say here, where it's talking about a great star falling from heaven and where it's talking about the waters being turned into blood, these things have happened. And they've been happening in more rapid pace. In part 2, I'm going to share some articles to show you that the fact that there probably were meteorites or asteroids to have fallen and made the waters change into blood red. It's something that is happening. The blood red part of the sea and the rivers has been happening since, like, they've been recording some since 2014. And it seems like the frequency has intensified. So for these biblical prophecies, you may or may not realize that it doesn't have to happen immediately. Everything that could befall that are happening when these trumpets go in our time, in human time, may take over a period of time, and it may intensify over time. So what we're going to do is cover part 1, how these asteroids or meteors have been continuously falling. I put the definition for an asteroid as a small rocky body orbiting the sun. That's what they have. The definition of an asteroid is. So for meteorites, a meteorite can encompass an asteroid because it's defined as a small body of matter from outer space that enters the Earth's atmosphere. Now, some people, when they see meteorites, they describe them as a shooting star, or they say it looks like a ball of fire in the sky, shrieking across the sky. So there have been several meteors to fall. And here's what's really going to get you as to why I believe there haven't been multiple reports of meteors falling. Because it's more common than we think. When you go to a site for cosmosmagazine.com, there's a title called Earth Hit by 17 Meteors a Day. 17 that hit the Earth a day on average. This means in 1 year, there are 6,100 meteors that hit the earth. They touch the ground or they touch water each year. So reporters are not reporting this. They only are going to report it if it's catastrophic to the point where it like wipes out a town or that wipes out something that is extremely noticeable. Because they have 6,000, over 6,000 of them that hit the earth each year. Now, if you go here to NASA TV, to that site, there's an article that's titled on March 31st in 2014. And then the title is Asteroid Facts, Fast Facts. And they have a list of facts that they go through and tell you about asteroids and entering the Earth's atmosphere. But one thing that I wanted to note is that they say every 2,000 years, a meteor the size of a football field hits the earth and cause significant damage to whatever area it hits. So every 2,000 years, they have a meteor that will hit the earth and basically level the area that it hits. And they've had some on record that happened at the beginning of the 1900s. I think they've had two. I think one that occurred over in western United States and one that occurred in Russia. So this is well far less than 2,000 years. But just think about the intensity. If we had two major meteors to hit, they have one on record that hit in South America that has leveled the area that it hit. And fortunately, it was not really inhabited. So you can go back and look at articles of that, but I'm going to share that with you guys in part 2. But I just want to mention that when you look up articles and you're going to find that you see these particular things where the sea or the rivers have turned blood red, they don't know why. Most of them point to an algae that occurs in the sea, and it will turn the sea red sometimes. And this has happened sometimes annually in Australia's on the shores of Australia or in America, like on the Gulf Coast or around Miami, and it happens. But what we're talking about here is something that is more worldwide. It's not simply something that happens annually. And the articles I'm going to share in part 2 is going to reveal that to you. So I'm sharing this just to say, once again, Body of Messiah, we have to be diligent in looking at the signs that the Most High God has given us, have revealed to us in the book of Revelation and other prophecies. So we'll understand that the coming of our Messiah's return is very near. And we have to, another thing that we should take from these prophetic things that are occurring is that God's word is true. He's not man that he should lie. And we have to trust wholeheartedly in it and be comforted by it because we know how the story ends. So, Body of Messiah, I'm glad that y'all joined me for lesson 4, part 1. And I hope you can join me for part 2. And like I always say to you, may Adonai Elohim cover you and surround you and your family and shield and protect you in his shalom peace. Goodbye.